Could there be a solution to the mystery of life? Many people don't believe that it's possible to fundamentally understand what life is all about. But does it have to be that way? Is there even evidence that we cannot understand life at all? Just because we might not be able to understand it fundamentally right now, does not mean that it cannot be understood at all. This video is based on the work of Martinus. He describes a solution to the mystery of life. But before we dive into that one, here's a question for you. Do you think it's actually possible to solve the mystery of life? Or are we forever stuck with partial answers? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one and I'm genuinely curious where you stand on all this. This video introduces the second part or the second basic fact in Martinus' solution to the mystery of life. The solution is based on intuitive experiences that Martinus had, which enabled him to understand eternal principles and laws that guide our existence. Part of this was the solution to the mystery of life, which he spent most of his life writing down in a form so we can check it with our own experiences and our intelligence. The idea is that we can understand and get to know what he's writing. It is not something that we have to believe in just because he writes it. Martinus lays out his logic so we can check it ourselves and we can bring our own experiences in order to check this logic. Obviously, if we don't have the required experiences in order to understand it, we will not be able to trust it basically or have it as knowledge. It will basically be something fantastic or something impossible for us. But if we do have this experience, we can actually go and read his work, we can understand his arguments, and we can try to figure out, does this actually make sense? Is it something that's out there? This video is part of a series about Martinus' solution to the mystery of life. I've made a video that introduces the solution as sort of so you can actually see what is the solution, and Martinus has 12 basic facts that actually leads to this solution. This video is part of a series about Martinus' solution to the mystery of life. It is about the second fact, second basic fact. Martinus has 12 facts that leads to the solution to the mystery of life. I've made one video where I actually introduce what his solution is, so you can actually find out what sort of the final answer is. And then I also have a video about the first fact, and this is about the second fact, and I'll make 10 videos about the remaining 10 basic facts. And you can find the playlist in the description. This video is based on the work of Martinus. I have videos about who he is and what his work is and what his life was all about. You can find it in the description and probably in the corner here as well. So let's get started on all this. Okay, so let's get into what this second basic fact is in the solution to the mystery of life by Martinus. It's basically cause and effect. I'll try to put something about that together so we know what we are talking about, and there are actually some things that we are not talking about when we talk about this second fact. Let's see if everything works here. Yeah, it does. Every created thing is both cause and effect. So that's the idea here, that everything that is created, and Martinus defines that as something that is moving, that is changing, basically. So that's what we are talking about. And I'll come back to the eternal that is not really changing like that. So that was what we are talking about, right? So we know that all matter is constantly changing. We know atoms are moving around all the time. So even things that really look like they are stable, like metal or stones, something like that, that will still be considered something created, something that is actually changing over time. It just takes a long time to change, but it's still changing. So here's the next thing. Everything comes from something else. Basically, the current situation we have now came out of something else. It's caused by a previous situation. There's a little bit more to it, but that's one way to look at it. So everything comes from something else. everything will change into something else. So whatever is going on right now will become something else at a later point. That's what life is all about, right? We go from one state to another state all the time. And the intervals might be, infinite small basically. But we have a perception, experience of life that causes these changes to be at a certain length of time and also in space so we can actually experience it. That's what Martinus called the perspective principle. And that's how and why we can actually experience life. Anyway, we know the physical cause and effects. We know that tree becomes wood and wood becomes a house. So that's one sort of way to say there are something that has happened before. There was a tree, something happened, and an effect came, it became wood, and it became a house eventually. Also say the same about iron ore. We get it out of the earth, we make it into steel, and eventually it gets into a car and it becomes a car. Rain, more from nature. It's raining, it goes into a river, and eventually it becomes the ocean, basically, right? And I also took this picture with me in this presentation just to state that that's sort of the most basic. You hold a glass of water, and if you release, stop holding it, it will fall to the ground. That's cause and effect, right? That's the created. So we know about this in the physical world. That's pretty obvious to us. But Martinus also talks about this applying to the mental side. So that also has some effects, and it's a little bit more tricky to talk about. But essentially, we're angry at people that will, for instance, that will have an effect on them, and that effect eventually will come back to us. So that side is also something created, something that changes. Martinus talks about that our thoughts are actually something that's there. And the most obvious proof is we can actually experience it. So if I imagine this head with these gears inside, I can actually imagine them myself. That imagination or that image I see mentally, Martino states that's something that's actually there as well. So if I had something else, like say a beach, for instance, I imagine a nice beach, nice weather, sun is shining, and so forth. Then I can put some people on it that plays with a football or something like that. And that's something I imagine. That's an image I can actually see. And Martino states that image is actually something that also exists. And there are also cause and effect in that area as well. Because our thoughts, they are created, so they are under this cause and effect. Anyway, so this is the second fact, cause and effect. So let's take a look at the symbol here. We saw in the previous video that you can find in the playlist in the description, probably also as the first comment. And what we went over in the previous video was essentially this first fact that just stated that there's something there is. And I went into why that's actually a good example that we can actually know something for sure. But check out the video for that one. So here we are stating some more about life, that there's actually cause and effect. And we see here the narrowing part, that's the cause, and the wide part here, or the expanded part, is the effect of this cause. So here we have a cause that goes into an effect, becomes a cause again, a new effect, and so forth. That's essentially what this is symbolizing. And that's pretty much what the second fact is. It's in some ways fairly simple. We can debate whether it's a fact that we can know for sure. We can say we know something is there, right? That was the first fact. The second fact here is that, well, there are something that moves, or something that changes. Something comes from something and becomes something else. That's a cause and effect. And that's all we are stating here right now. We don't state anything about what this cause and effect really is. We can just see that if something is happening, or something is happening, something else comes out of it. So that's the second fact. Um, let's see what the next is. Yeah. So there are some areas where this does not apply. I'll just go over here Martinus symbol number 6. Oh, I should just say this is symbol number 32. It's called the 12 basic answers or the solution to the mystery of life. And I go over what that symbol is in the previous video. I'll probably make a video just about this symbol as well. So maybe you can find that in the description as well when that video comes out eventually. Symbol number 6, the living being one. So this is Martinus' basic analysis of the living being. Essentially, we have three parts. We have what we call the created. It's at the bottom here. And this is where all the cause and effect is happening. That's all that we are experiencing. That's where we see this cause and effect happening. But as Martinus has described many times, and I also have it in most of my videos actually, is that there's something behind this. And that's actually something we come back to in the upcoming facts. But just to clarify what the second fact is about, this is basically about this created part. This is what we experience. This is where things are changing. But Martinus states that there's something behind this change. It doesn't come out of random. Or said in another way, this created part is not creating itself. So essentially what he's saying is that there's something behind. And we know this, that there's behind the created very well, because that's our I. So when we look at ourselves, and Martinus states, if we want to know the solution to the mystery of life, we should actually look at ourselves, because that's what's closest to us and that's what we know the best. And then the stuff that's furthest away from us is probably the things that we have the most difficulties in understanding. So let's start with ourselves. So what can we say about ourselves? Well, we have this I. I've been myself my entire life, right? But my body has changed, the way I think, my abilities, talents, and so forth has changed so much that you can state, am I even the same person, the same living being? Well, probably not, right? We are changing all the time. So you can even argue what I was 5 minutes ago is something different than I am right now, because something has changed, right? But this I that is behind what is created, that is the same. That's what it identifies as being us, basically, or ourself. And he states that's an eternal principle, something eternal. So that has never started, it will never end, and it also means it doesn't change. If something is the same all the time, it's eternal, it has no details. Oh, that's for another video, basically, but I'll just state it here that the I behind the created is not created itself. We'll come back to that in some of the facts that comes further down the road. So subscribe and watch those videos as well. Anyway, so this I is not something that changes. It's not under this cause and effect. So when Martinus talks about cause and effect, he talks about what is timely, what is local, what is in time and space, basically. But the I is above or beyond this time and space. So that's not what he's talking about. He's not talking about all these eternal principles that he's describing. Anyway, so just to make a complete description of this symbol, so we have the created here, we have the I here, and this I has an ability to create and perceive what is created. So we have talents here that are developed over several lives and so forth. But that's essentially the I's ability to change what is the created. And that's the basic analysis of the living being, that you have an I that has the ability to create or change the created and perceive it as well. So there's a loop here, you can say, between the its ability to create, and what is created. That just goes on. And there's a lot about say about that, but that's not for this video. That will come in later videos also about the mystery of life. Anyway, I just wanted to say that this cause and effect is only about the created. You might say that these talents are changing to some extent, but that's a whole different debate. So for now, we'll just go with that is the created part, not the eternal part. So what can we actually say about the eternal? And that's the last part of this video, where I'll talk a little bit about what this eternal is and what we can say about it. Well, something eternal, Martinus states, is something that has never been created. It has never started. It has never changed from something into this. So it has always been there and will always be there. It will always be the same. These principles are always the same. So you can, if you want to find a meaning with what is going on in the world, you can say, well, from this perspective, it has always been there. So there's no previous explanation of why the world is what it is. It just is what it is. So if you want to try to find an explanation in that sense, you will not find it because it has never started. That's what Martinus is stating about it. So from that perspective, you can say that life is not really meaningful. Then these principles makes up a way life that actually works in a certain way, that there's always something in this eternal life we have, according to Martinus, that always puts us in a state where we experience something and are in a state where we want to experience something more. And that's part of our eternal life, that we are always going towards something that we want to experience. That's called hunger and saturation. That's something we have experienced so much that we don't want to experience it anymore. So we get a hunger for some other type of experience. So that's how eternal life is working. It makes up some circular, yeah, it's a circular thing basically. But that's for another video. Maybe it's a basic fact 10 or 11 or something. So it will come to in this series as well. Anyway, so let's talk about some key principles and assumptions about this. One of them is that nothing can come from nothing. I believe it's part of physics that this is the case. We haven't really experienced something that goes into becoming nothing. It might seem like that, but when we investigate it further, we actually find out that it just became something else. So this is key principle assumption that nothing can come from nothing. And it also goes the other way, that something cannot become nothing. That was actually what I was talking about. So nothing can come out of nothing, and this something cannot become nothing. So if it's already existing, it cannot become nothing, right? Let's see if I can move this. So in a way, that's a proof of eternity. So if all causes become effects and all effects becomes causes, if we actually say that's the case, and nothing can come from nothing, then the chain of cause and effect has never started. It has no beginning. I mean, if there's always something previous, it will just go on infinite, right? It will never stop back in time, right? I believe the next one here, if something cannot become nothing, whatever is the effect and the cause for the next effect right now, that will also go on infinite in the future. It will never end. So if we actually assume that we can keep experience life and that is never going to change, well, eternal life and so forth. Enough about that. So I hope this was kind of convincing what I said here. I have some videos about eternity where I actually go more into that. Anyway, let's see what's next. Yeah, so that was pretty much what I wanted to talk about fact number 2. Next fact is about logic and regularity. Right now, we haven't said anything about what these cause and effects actually are, if there is any logic to it or any regularity. So that's what the next fact is all about and what the next video will be about. Yeah. So let me know what you think about this. Like the video if you found it valuable. Please leave a comment below. What do you think? Is there any way we can find out what the mystery of life is? What about this cause and effect? Is that actually something we can know for sure? Or is it just an assumption we have about life? I'm sure both perspectives are present out there somewhere. But give me a comment. I'll be happy to read it. I read them all, and uh, I try to answer all of them. So subscribe to the channel if you want to see the upcoming videos. I'll definitely do the videos about the mystery of life, but I also plan a lot of different videos, and I hope I will get to a point where I can actually push out a video every week. That's my big dream, but it takes a while to do these videos actually. So also go watch the solution video. I call it the solution video. That's where I describe what the solution to the mystery of life is. I haven't talked about it in this video really. So check that one out. And if you haven't watched the Fact 1 video, go and take a look at that one. I talk a lot about how can we actually know something for sure. The first fact is just something there is. It's not that interesting in itself, but I actually think it has a lot of implications of how we think about the world and what we can actually know. And it's the first step to actually say we can actually know something about the world. It's not just some assumptions we have. Check that one out. And if this actually works here, and this will be the last part that we can just. Anyway, thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Thank you.